Hello. Greetings. We're about ready to start our interview and a discussion regarding World Mentoring Academy. Hello. Greetings. We're about ready to start our interview and a discussion regarding World Mentoring Academy. Starting in about 3 minutes. Hey, Nicolai. Hey, Nicolai, what's up?
Hello, Michael. Nice to see you.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute this because it does a echo on YouTube
From
streaming. Yeah, we have
the
we're gonna have an
the
NGO join us. Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you, but I think the echo is not coming from me.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
just wait.
I will mute my microphone
Okay.
to verify.
All right. We will be having a guest from an NGO, and I'll share you a. See if I can get this right. Cisco IN. I think that's it. Okay. So we're just waiting for him to figure out how to get to the Hangout. Anyway, this is we have a guest. He will be representing Invenio, which is a NGO that provides localized Wi-Fi with a hardware supported by um, how should I say it? Here's some of their supporters: Bush, Cisco, and what they basically do is they work on bringing hardware and Wi-Fi, and we're going to be discussing uh, basically options for terabyte drives localized. Hello, and Nikolai has joined us.
Yes, I'm here. Andrzej was coming. Nice to see you, Andrzej.
Hello,
Rick might be.
Nikolai. Hello, Michael. Hello.
Hello, how are you doing? Rick will probably join later. He has another appointment, so he'll may join us a little later.
Michael, I propose you to wait a little bit because I can see many friends will come here in
Okay.
your hangout, and maybe it's not the right hour.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just setting this up. The NGO is located in San Francisco along the same time zone. So I
Yeah.
didn't expect, a lot of language people to participate. This particular project is working with a terabyte drive, and there's a couple of different nonprofits that work on terabyte drives where Wi-Fi is not a an option, and so they put everything that would normally be in an educational school in a terabyte drive, and then they use a basically a server to send out a Wi-Fi signal. and then quite a few people can come and basically have kind of like a virtual internet for their school. And we're talking potentially talking with Corbin, who's working with this company that we see right here. This is some of their supporters. And they basically deal with a lot of the hardware and some of the software. And they're looking at perhaps mirroring some of the information that we have at World Mentoring Academy. I have a lot of other resources. They want to develop a university in the Congo, and they're looking at the options that they have. And we're going to go over some of the ins and outs. We're going to talk about learning management systems, support structures on an overview, and the various different content that's available for this kind of a project. They would like to mirror this across all of the third world country as a support for universities. This one right here is in Congo, so we'll be doing with French content in the open courseware, and then English as well. So as soon as he joins us, we can basically talk. I've been working on, I don't know as if you guys have been to the language courses in the past at World Mentoring Academy in the past couple of days. Nicolai?
No.
What about you, Andrzej?
No.
Okay, I've added a player that's a jQuery that's basically can be read by all the various different browsers in Mac and IBM machines. And I also added a recorder, which is on JavaScript, which does the only thing that's limited is tablets and phones. And so what I've done, we can probably talk about this before our guest comes. Hopefully he knows how to get in here. See if there's anything else. Okay. But let me go ahead and show you what I'm working on. Let me give an example of the French course. I've added a couple of things, Nicolai, and where, as soon as it loads. Okay. I've added, of course, the regular schedules for upcoming events. That's one site. This is the second one right here. This is from Language Hangouts. You guys are familiar with it, right? And so, you know, a person can put their time zone and see all the various different multilingual Hangouts. So what I'm going to try to do is get quite a few people to get a part of the G+ community and Language Hangouts, and so that they get their, you know, their Hangouts listed here. And then World Mentoring Academy, I will make sure that students see this as a way of joining the Hangouts. But what I've added since the last time we've talked is, I don't know how good this is going to come up through the Hangouts, but I've added a, in this case, this particular player is a SoundCloud. So let me take a moment to load. Maybe I should go with my jQuery one here. Okay, what we have here is, I don't know how this will sound, but let me go ahead and give this a shot. Okay, so I can do the click here,
Asseyez-vous.
and it asks me for the mic.
La classe commence.
La classe commence.
La classe commence.
Ne lisez pas.
Ne lisez pas.
Je ne lisais pas.
Ne lisez pas.
Okay, now, I'm going to play this again. Hopefully you can hear it.
La classe commence.
La classe commence.
La classe commence.
Ne lisez pas.
Ne lisez pas. Okay, so it's basically what I call that is a kind of a pronunciation checker. So I have, this is done in Polish as well as, in all the languages. I've been just finishing up the last couple of languages. See here. Now I'm going to be really terrible in Polish, so.
Welcome, Corbin.
Hi, sorry about that. I had a lot of trouble figuring out how to join the Hangout.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a learning curve. I started learning about Hangouts about 6 months ago, and there are the other two people in the guest. You can introduce yourselves. Nicolai?
Yes, please.
This is how do you pronounce your name? Corbin?
Oh, Corbin. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Nicolai is what country are you in?
Romania.
Romanian. So he is learning languages. He speaks several, English and, of course, Romanian. What other language you know, Nicolai?
Maybe French, maybe a little bit Spanish, Italian.
Yeah. And Nicolai does Hangouts, where we do language learning G+, where he helps in a variety of Hangouts. And they also do a multilingual Hangout where they go from one language to another, helping people learning languages amongst themselves in G+. And go ahead, Andre.
Yeah.
Okay, Andre's in Poland.
Yeah, yes, I'm from Poland.
And he does several Hangouts as well.
Very cool.
I organize almost every day one hangout.
Yeah. And what we do is we have a community of Hangouts online that deal with languages, and this is just an example of how we can set up live virtual Hangouts for people. Mm-hmm. Of course, what we're going to talk about today is like the terabyte type drive type of thing without Wi-Fi in third world countries, but where there's options of whether it be limited or not, options of a Wi-Fi signal. Because maybe you should tell us a little bit about what you're working on, Corbin.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I think you already sort of introduced me, I'm working for Invenio, and we work a lot with connectivity solutions, setting up Wi-Fi in third world countries and the like. And recently we've been partnering with United Methodist Communications on a university that they are funding there, but this project is much bigger than that, because what we want to do is create an offline learning center for students at this university that we can then replicate at any other university that wants this same kind of resources available. And so in particular, we've been looking at French content for offline, although in speaking with people there, they're very open to having English content as well, especially in related to technology courses, because English is sort of being seen right now as the leading, international language of technology. And so what I've been doing is, browsing around looking for content that's open and freely available to start putting together onto this offline module. And that's how I came across your website, Michael. And that's why I reached out to you, because it looked like you've already done a lot of what I've done, and looked like you'd be a great resource for this.
Yeah, a couple of other countries like Turkey and a couple of other countries based, backed by Bill and Melinda, have reached out to me for various different, content regarding, agriculture or animal husbandry or whatever. And let me go ahead and change this screen so that we can. I'm also working with another group called Internet in a Box. And Broderick is local to Southern California, and he has a team that works with him developing. And I understand that you guys overlap a little bit because they were also involved in Haiti as well, setting up one laptop per child type situations, and solar panels and Wi-Fi, and that one laptop per child is fragmented into lots of different organizations. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with them. And your module is more towards 14 watts, desktop solutions. With, from what I could gather from your website, with material for how should I say it? All the infrastructure, solar panels, and things of that nature. And I watched all your videos on your channel to get a good idea of what you're working with. We have a lot of French content that we can bring into the system that I've indexed and went through all the various different YouTube channels for the universities, and also the open courseware movement as well. In fact, I'll show you one screen which, of course has, I think 3 pages of content in French, that we can bring in. Plus I have a spreadsheet where I went through all the YouTube channels to find all the content, whether it be French, Arabic, Spanish, Hebrew, Italian. And so what I've done is I've put that on a radar, and eventually what we would like to do is bring all that into World Mentoring Academy. Definitely mirroring the idea onto a terabyte or whatever size drive that you want to do for basically a virtual, intranet situation for university, both English content and other languages. We've got a couple of solutions that you might consider regarding. We have 2 of the languages that are from the Congo. We have Swahili and I can never pronounce it, Lingala courses. But what I wanted to talk to you about is we would eventually like to have the first system that is language blind. And Nicolai and Andrzej have been working with me to develop some of that kind of I'm going to show you here in a second if I can put them in. YouTube has just changed their thing, so it's kind of sometimes difficult. What we'd like to do is YouTube has in beta right now closed captions. Andrzej has helped me here. I'm going to show you this one here, where you can, YouTube does a closed caption type of a thing, and it does a machine language first one, like right here, the automatic, and you can then go in and change it so that it's correct. And then you can have an English, Can you hear us? And basically change it to every language. Are you familiar with this particular thing, Carmen?
Yeah, I've seen this before. I haven't actually explored it much, so I'm completely ignorant as to how well it works.
Right. Well, basically what it does is you can go in and you can change the captions. And Andre and Nicolai have both done that in here. And what we've done is we've got Polish and Romanian, since Nicolai did the Romanian. And so he corrected it. And so, you know, this particular video is all in Romanian. And we have Arabic, and we don't have French.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Spanish.
So the idea being here that you could have all the same videos and just closed captions, sort of fix closed captions for each video in any language that you would desire.
Right.
Interesting.
And so, make sure everybody's here. Okay. So he might be joining us. Okay. So what this does is, if you own the video, then you can send out the closed captions, and you can add your subtitles. Now, what we want to do in our language learning school is we would like to develop a conduit to do nonprofit work and professional work for our students and native speakers. So they update the closed captions so you could have an MIT lecture in French or Mandarin or whatever, and portal all of the content into a thing, and then we do a version, let's say, you know, October 2014 terabyte drive, and then periodically we have a new revision as content gets revised, say in the French language or whatever. And then we have the closed captions for all of the videos, whether it be, you know, MIT lectures or lectures from China. And what we typically do, like in this case, like for instance, we add subtitles. We have a whole course on how to, you know, work with these videos. So, okay. Hey, Rick, how you doing? Now, this is Corbin right here. Corbin, can you introduce yourself to Rick?
Hi, Rick. Yeah, I'm working with Invenio, which is a nonprofit that works in ICT for D, doing a lot of Wi-Fi and broadband connections for people in, focusing a lot on schools and organizations for people in developing countries. And right now, what we're talking about, as you know, is you know, making these MOOCs in the third world, and my interest in it is creating sort of offline educational resources that could be set up for people who have no internet or unreliable internet.
Yeah. Now, Rick, tell them about the program you're involved in.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very nice to meet you, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late. I just got a lesson I just taught a lesson, so I'm late here. Very nice to meet you guys, and it's a very interesting project actually. So I will be very happy if I could do some contributions and help.
Now, Rick is.
Hello, Andrzej.
Go ahead, Rick. Tell us about your schooling.
Hello.
Actually, right now I'm living in Paris and studying my second year of my master degree, which is doing a projects like helping people to learn Chinese by using the information and communication technologies, combining all the websites together and help people to learn Chinese. So this is my current research subject, and I'm graduating this year. Hopefully I can graduate. And I'm doing lots of resource sharing stuff on Google+. I have my own community, which is called Languages Cracker. You can check it out. I shared a lot of Chinese learning resources actually to help people learn Chinese. And also I'm interested in developing and exploring how to use Google Hangouts to make people better learning language or languages. Okay, not Chinese, but also to the English, French, and some other languages.
Now, Rick is his professor is involved in online education as well, right?
Uh, I should say, well, right now I'm an online teacher. I teach Chinese online, and how to say, I know all of my students may how to say, I have my students all across the globe right now, and my classmates also in my major. Okay, I have also my classmates who are interested in doing this. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Rick has his bachelor's in English and French, and he's a native from China. And we've known each other for what, 7, 8 months? Something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
And there's some other people that will maybe come from India, and a couple of other people that are in the educational field that will join this hangout, hopefully through the thing. I'd like to show you a little bit about what we have and how we do it, and then talk about learning management systems. Now, I'm using Efront right now, which is a community shareware type of a thing on a host, which I then go and populate all the material. Now, there's of course Moodle, which can basically be an intranet, in a terabyte drive, I believe, as well. And then there's a Drupal installation that edX uses out of MIT and Harvard. And I think that what we need to do regarding learning management system, and I just mentioned 3 of them, but there's several other ones, where the footprint and how much it's going to take on your terabyte drive, your server, all the other types of things. We need to find something that's really light, loads well, and it's not toyish. As far as I don't really have a lot of practice working with 1 laptop per child's system, so I'm not too sure what's involved. But all the content that I've developed and managed, I've been able to basically populate the SQL database that I can basically go from one LMS to another LMS. So it's not a problem. I think in the interim, is there something that you lean towards as far as your, a light resourced LMS system, Corbin?
At the moment, I guess I just lean towards Drupal because I'm most familiar with it, and we're using Synology drives, and I know that Drupal works pretty well on them, but I don't have any experience with Efront, and I didn't actually know about it beforehand.
Yeah, it was originally developed in the country of Greece, and it's been around a lot longer as far as a content management system in the shareable area. Moodle at the time was rather, not well developed at the time, and Drupal is just recently, rolled out, in the past 3 or 4 years in LMS.
Mm.
So, and then there's a couple of other ones that I've looked at that are pretty good. But if you can let me know what your hardware requirements are, I'm very active in the Drupal community in Los Angeles, and I've got a couple of other people that are kind of like up in the training process regarding Drupal 7 and Drupal 8. And I believe that Drupal 7 will probably be around for 5 to 6, 7 years. I'd like to be able to develop some apps that are existing in Moodle, primarily the language learning labs, things of that nature. I would like to be in a position where we can teach French literature and even native Swahili or Lugandan. We've got like about 20 African languages. In some cases, some of the African languages are starting to kind of die out, which is kind of sad a little bit. I'd like to be able to, leave that in place, and perhaps, allow other people around the world to also learn those languages. But when it comes to engineering, sciences, and all the other core classes, we have a pretty good foundation to work from. So the learning management system, if you can take a look at, you're using Drupal 7 right now?
I have used Drupal 7. At the moment, we have not started putting anything into any sort of learning management system.
Right.
So we're sort of at the beginning stages of all of this.
Okay. I've been around for a while, so I kind of get a sense of what we're going on, and I need to get an idea as to what kind of resources a Drupal LMS would take.
Mm-hmm.
I want to find something. Efront was originally written on a black frame of Joomla, and they're moving towards a newer version, which is, goes, what do they call it? I always forget, where it goes from tablets and laptops to cell phones, and I always forget that word. Not divergent, adaptable, for lack of a better word. But if we could kind of narrow down what kind of LMS system, the content is on a SQL database, so we can basically, migrate it over to whatever LMS will fit on a terabyte drive. I can talk with Broderick, who's been working on the terabyte drive system for a while. What kind of drives are you said you mentioned the drive?
Yeah, so what we're using, it's called Synology.
Synology, okay.
And so right now, yeah, we have 1 terabyte drives. So there's sort of, it's like a simplified server management program, essentially based off on Linux. And here, if I can screen share, I can show you.
Yeah, you know how to screen share. It's on the left side.
All right, let's see if I can. Screen share, okay.
And then there's a, whatever. As soon as you screen share, I'll activate your screen.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes a little bit getting used to, but I really prefer this over Skype.
Yeah, it definitely seems better. I just have to allow it to access.
This will also go archived into YouTube, into the YouTube channel, so you can retrieve it later on.
Okay, let's try that. Is that working now?
Well, as soon as you have to pick.
Start screen share. Okay.
All four of us have had this learning curve thing at the very early. Rick and all the other guys these guys are like pros compared to us. It's like.
All right, from my end, it looks like I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah, you are sharing your screen. We can all see it.
Okay, great. All right, terrific. So
what we see is your desktop right now.
Oh, that's not what it shows. Oh, so this is the you see it in a Chrome browser?
Yeah.
So that's actually, so this is the Synology system.
Okay.
So this is what it looks like, and so you can see it's pretty much like a Linux system. It has like a basic package center, like a package manager and all that. And so I'm still getting used to this, so I don't actually know where a lot of stuff is right now. But so what we're imagining, so this is what it looks like from sort of the administrator's point of view.
Yep.
And then we should have a web. Let's see if I can.
You guys are using which version of Linux?
So it's not. So I think what they call this is DSM, which and I do not actually know what it's built on top of.
Okay.
That's something I'd have to look up separately.
Yeah, I saw on your website, and I always forget. I didn't see here.
Let me see if I can. Let's see. How do I get to? What I want to show you guys is what this looks like from the user's point of view, but I'm going to have to.
What we try to do is maybe keep this a little bit light. It's just kind of like an overview. We don't want to get right into the computer science of the whole thing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, essentially, what it can look like is, have you seen the Rachel project? All right. So this is, so or this is, I guess, better an example of what we don't like quite as much, but is like simple to use for people on the user. So the problem with this is it splits up each of the different sources, even though they might have overlapping information or complementary information. So someone would have to, say, go to K through 12 textbooks and look up algebra, but then there's also Khan Academy algebra, and those are in two separate locations. And so what we really liked about what you did, Michael, was having, the same variety of sources for information, but organized in such a way that each one is accessible through like a logical progression of links.
Right. Yeah, a lot of times the housekeeping, because some people mistake a World Mentoring Academy as being a directory of some kind, and it's not a directory. It's a fully online school.
Right.
And what I try to do is I've got Khan Academy. I've got pretty much everybody into an LMS, and so like I'm just going to use say for instance French. I'm going to share the screen here with a second. Okay. I was just showing the guys before we came, and Rick has looked at it as well. This is a Polish course where you have a basically a jQuery player with both OGG files and MP3 files, and we can import this. Right now, I'm hosting on the Internet Archive, but we can bring that into a terabyte drive and then access the. We can also conserve by just using OGG, because you can set up your players so that it, only has to play one, because you're not internet based. All your machines won't have to have two files. It won't have to have MP3s and OGG files. Or, you want to make it as condensed as possible so you don't take up much bandwidth, especially when you're sharing your drive. Now, have you figured out how many stations can be served by a terabyte drive?
So what we have not actually done that yet. What we've been using in the past for similar projects is Raspberry Pis, just running much smaller. Well, actually, just running that Rachel that I just showed you with all that information on it.
Yeah.
And each Raspberry Pi serves 10 stations.
Okay.
8 to 10, and so for the Synology drives, I would expect more than that.
Okay. All right. Well, let me show you a little bit about what I've done here. I've got a JavaScript recorder here, and this is for language learning. I better use my French course. Now, I'm going to go into the manual here. Okay, this is I've got literally 1,400 courses, but only 760 courses that are full, meaning that they're a full school year. Now, the French course and other language courses are more than just one course. They're like, in some case, 4 years of French. But I count it as one course or one, subject. So I have 760 subjects. So this screen here on this particular LMS, we have the content where you can develop, which is where I do most of my editing. Then projects, you have your students do projects. Then you can also do tests, quizzes, and finals, timed, multiple choice, yada yada yada. Even essay type questions. If you have essay, unfortunately, then you have to have your teacher, grade the essays. So I kind of stay away from that. I try to make it as the multiple choice as challenging and interesting so that you develop a teacher's key and it can automatically correct the test, and so the students get immediate response. You can send out feedback forms, and I believe that you can probably migrate this into an intranet situation like the TeraBit drives. You can also do forums and reports from your students. In this case, I'm an administrator type thing. But I don't have this B conference or the chat working right now in this version of, this is probably a 3-year-old LMS. Then you got instant messaging, which I believe that we can migrate onto an intranet system. But let's go into the content. There are some options in the learning courses. Instead of going to the internet for these, you could probably go to a schedule. Like this, in this particular case, what we've gone is we get to a schedule that lets you know what hangouts are happening for languages. So, like if you're German, you got the information. Rick and some of the other people, they put their hangouts here, and if you go like last month, you'll see quite a few hangouts where people come together. And I believe you can do that with some of your course material in the intranet if it's a university setting. So students can get together and work on, say, calculus or engineering or languages or whatever, and basically use your TeraBit drives and link them, one to another, and set up basically a mesh of servers depending on how large your university is, so that you basically set up a whole hive. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So you basically grow, you grow your system. So you can set a mesh between all of your servers and have a virtual campus with, we got, medical hangout. Or even in our case, what we do is we do that on the internet, but you can do that in the intranet. And we also do other things too, like we in this case, we bring in meetups, like you put your city here, 50 miles French, and these are the various on an internet situation, all the people going for coffee and learning French, going to movies, things of that nature, so that, people can learn French or any other language. In this case, it was French. We have a variety of other types of things like newspapers, magazines, TV, radio, streaming on the internet. You can do the same thing by putting some content here. So you basically have a library of magazines, newspapers in French. You know what I'm saying? And then you just go to your TeraBit drive to get those resources. But let's go to the course itself. What we have here, I'm going to play it loud enough so that we can hear it. Yeah, okay. So,
FSI French Revised Unit 1, Classroom Expression. Asseyez-vous.
Asseyez-vous.
La classe commence.
La classe commence.
La classe commence.
Ne lisez pas.
Ne lisez pas. Okay, so I'm going to play this back.
La classe commence.
La classe commence.
La classe commence.
Ne lisez pas.
Ne lisez pas. Okay, so this is a Java script. So basically, I don't know if it came across through your headphones or not.
Yeah, it did.
But this is one way for students to practice their pronunciation, whether it be English, French, Russian, Japanese, whatever. You have about 54 languages. And so this is kind of a little bit of a workaround. In this particular recorder does not go back to my host. It stays in the, basically in the cache.
Oh,
And
cool.
it doesn't go into their hard drive. So, once they, allow permission to use their mic, then it just stays in a temporary file. So it doesn't take up your bandwidth to and from your server. So that, you can have quite a few people, learning in a language type of a situation. You can also add a Dropbox, when one person, or actually maybe program this so you can actually save it to a Dropbox into the teacher's, thing, so that he or she can then come back and help with languages. So that's an example, in this case here. Now this is an interesting thing here. What we've done is, okay, I'm going to mimic, like, this is, forgive me, Rick, if this doesn't look so great. I've set my program up so that, now the audio player here, I hope you can see this. This is big enough?
I can't really read your screen, actually. It's very small.
Yeah, I'm getting it bigger. Okay. All right, hopefully that's big enough. So what you do is you have your player here, and it's 98% French. All right. Of course, the French is frozen in my HTML code, and the English floats. So it'll Google Translate will translate it, but you can also do overlays, in your system, so that I can speak a native a Chinese person French. They don't have to know English to use this program. So basically, this material was originally written by the State Department for the diplomats and embassy people, and it was English to 54 language. With this little HTML trick, I've turned English to 54 language, and I've turned it universally into any language, and I can take any native speaker, whether they be French to Russian or vice versa, just by using a existing system, so I don't have to rework the system. And that might be a nice additive where you have an overlay, say here. When you send it to Congo, it's all in French, right?
Yep.
And then you have your Russian here, your Mandarin here, whatever. And the audio is primarily in that language. And so you can teach, if you're migrating this into an Arab country, you can have, Arabic here, and of course French here. The audio is the same. So all you have to do is change out this say layer, if you say. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a World Mentoring Academy blind to language, and do that in every field. We can do that as well as if I go back to okay, say for instance this introduction to okay, here's an interesting thing. This is the GMAT. Now I'm going to show you an example of a course. This is to go into your master's program in in any business school, finance, accounting, whatever. And we go in here, and you basically have a thing that runs down. I'm going to make this just a little smaller so I can get a little bit more of the screen in here. And what you have is a multiple choice. Oops. Okay. Multiple choice. They have the question, and they, of course, select the answer. And the clock starts ticking down. So we have this complete test. Okay. And you could put this in French as well. just the images would be the same. And then as soon as you finish it, it grades it. Okay? So this is a practice to the GMAT. Okay? And it's usually data sufficiency and problem-solving questions. As soon as you finish that, we then go into the Khan Academy solving all the questions you just worked on. Okay? So the first part of the test, he's going to rework the questions you just did. Okay? So you take the test with your tools. Then as soon as it's graded, you then can watch the videos on how Saul might take answer that same question. After you finish these videos on the right here, see, you've got problem solving and data sufficiency. You then can go back and take the GMAT again. And there's 11 sets of tests. And these are retired questions from the GMAT. Now, we do the same thing with the SAT. And of course, you got the reports of students taking the test here to see how they're doing. I'm going to do the SAT because more likely there's more SAT people than GMAT people. We'll go in here and do the same thing. In this case, there's 8 full tests. Now, Saul did not do that with his. This is basically on how to, study for the test and, cues. And here's your first test. Got an hour and 10 minutes. And this is the math prep practice exam, the SATs. All right. And we can change this all into English. You leave the graph, or either French or Arabic or whatever. And then right after that, of course, we have the videos. So we have test videos, and these are the videos that go. These are the videos that go for this test. And there's 8 sets. Now, Saul did not do that. He didn't put the test, this thing here, with the test. And you can go back and look and see, how people are doing. I always have difficulty with this. I'm not really, believe it or not, very good at this. So it's going to load the users. And the teachers can look at this, and this is this is the kind of test that we have in this learning management system. Okay, so
it's all really cool.
Yeah.
I like how you put this together.
Yeah, and so this guy took an hour and so many minutes, and so you have your test scores and all that stuff. And so these are people that are signed up. Some have taken the test, some have not. Yeah. And at current, right now we have, there's 294 people that have signed up for college credit courses. Now, what's interesting is that in each of these courses, this right here is, if we look at, this is K through 12. What we have here is I have set out to make this a school where you can get college credit. Basically, what happens here is we align our university courses with existing College Board courses. New York University's got a language test. And you can do basically anybody in Congo can take a French course, which is at 4th and 5th grade level, and take a 3-hour exam and get 16 units from NYU, which can then be translated to any European or American university for 16 units of credit for a 3-hour test. One guy using our program got a bachelor's in 6 months for under $5,000 from a regional accredited school in New Jersey, state.
Wow.
And while he was waiting to get into his master's program, he got 2 more bachelors. And so he did that very hodgepodge type of a thing. But as you can see here, these are all the courses. I want to get a better, you know, system than this. This is what came. So you can see all these courses here.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna go to say, like, there's a composition course. And this is where you're not checked in. In other words, this is just for people to see what's going on. Now, what I have here is I have the name of the course and University of Houston. You know, University of Houston courses, and then, you know, there's a course from Cal State Dominguez Hills and Yale, and you know. So they're from all MIT, Stanford, UC Berkeley, India, you know, Israel, Scotland. So the universities all over the world that I use the material, and I put it into the system that, you know, we looked at. I don't know what the bandwidth is on this. You know, what kind of system this could run on, this particular LMS. But I would like to. I'm very game on finding the most efficient system, you know, because, you know, you guys have been, you know, putting out hardware that uses, you know, practically no electricity and
Right.
very little resources, and so I kind of like that frugal way of looking at, you know, resources. So if you could determine that, well, Drupal's just, you know, you have to have this, you know, Pentium 6, you know, chip, and you know, all this hardware, and, you know, lots of bandwidth and all that stuff, then, you know, it may not be a good option to build out a university in.
Yeah, I'll talk with the engineers and get back to you about that, about the sort of the hardware specifications, what we're working with. One question I have, so part of this sort of center that we're working with is going to be open to sort of the community in general, and not going to be only university students using it. And so some of what we're hoping to do is create some type of encyclopedia type thing that's available to community members, you know, without having to log on specifically as a student.
Yeah.
Do you envision any way to do that with your material?
You know, you definitely use static pages and just, you know, link over to your, your file, and, you know, load it that way, and that would be relatively simple to do. Let's say, for instance, let's you know, somewhere up in say right up here, you'd put library, you know, or bookstore. See, like here, I'll go textbooks. So, you know, in this case, it goes to Amazon. But you just go to, like, your server, and you'd have your library and all that stuff. So they don't have to log in to get resources. And, you know, you could, you know, a lot of the content, like, for instance, the Yale course, let's find here, American Literature, Milton. Well, Milton's not there, so. Okay, introduction. Well, this one doesn't have it so much, but there's a lot of content in, you know, the Gutenberg project with all the various different books. And so what you could do is you can call through, see all the courses, and say, okay, well, I would like to have Paradise Lost in our library, and you just go through, because even though you have a terabyte drive, it doesn't mean that you can have every single book written in French.
Sure, right.
You know what I mean? And every single video. So what we can basically do is have a library that relates to the courses, and then pick and choose the classics for the rest of the population. At all different grade levels. I noticed that you see, for instance, you mentioned. Let's see here. I saw that you have. Where is this now? College algebra, trigonometry. I have to go to the other one. Oh, maybe I do have it. Okay, algebra. Let's go to the next one. Okay, I saw that you had CK Flexbook, and I want to show you a way that I've incorporated Flexbooks with video. Now this is algebra. The Flexbooks is what you had the CK dot whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what you have here is you have the Flexbook, with the images and stuff like that. This is a Flexbook. All the situation here. And then incorporated in the Flexbook, you have video. So you can basically insert the various different videos to go with the book itself. So you can put working with this substitute values and stuff like that, and you could basically put a video here and then the text that goes with that, and insert it through, and of course the videos can be of different sizes too. You don't have to have it this size, but I mean, basically what you're doing is you're creating a living book, an interactive book that they can either watch a video, or if they have a question, it follows a link over to someplace else to answer any other questions. You can create in the course itself. You can create a forum and have discussions on, say, for instance, in certain algebraic terms, and of course you can email the instructor. Feedback forms. You can send out feedback forms or quizzes and projects. But this is one way of using CK's material. In this case, in the English language, you can also do it in the French as well. And that's
cool.
Yeah, and so you have all the formulas, and the formulas would be images, and the English would be, of course, English. But like with A, in this case A, you'd take that image, because A could be well, not so much. It could be translated. This A could be if it was in text, could translate into a Mandarin text, and you don't want that. You want this to stay A. All right, and then this would change into Mandarin. And 10 is 10, so 4 would change into Mandarin. So this would all change into Chinese, and just the images would stay. And so you could basically lay the layers in French, Arabic, whatever.
Right.
Now, getting back to the YouTube videos with the closed captions, what's cool about this is right now you have closed captions, which you can edit it, and we could have it in Swahili, like. If you have the machine do it for you, then you can have it in these languages here. See, about 65 or 80 languages. Let's say, for instance, Swahili. Now, this is done with the machine language. So you have this in Swahili, this particular introduction video.
A question about the closed captions. Do you happen to know when you download the YouTube videos if it stores the closed caption data in the video as metadata or something like that?
Yeah, I believe that we'd have to take a look at that to see how effective it is, and to see if you can take it from somebody else's host, which is what YouTube is. It's a host, right. And take it and put it on the school's host. I believe that it comes together, but I don't know about the copying. We may need to contact the individual. We could probably download it, and if not this particular program, there is one out of India through the Neptel program, where it tracks along with the YouTube video, and then you can have your languages just below it. Now, here's an interesting thing: is that you've got text, from English text into, in this case, Swahili, but this is machine done. You can come in and have it corrected so that it's correct in Swahili or French or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you just sub it out as a lesson assignment in languages. So your students can actually update the file.
I remember that.
And if you could do the same thing with your server, when we upload each other's files, then the students in Nigeria will be correcting the French. Well, hopefully it's correct. I mean, I don't know if it's a Creole French or if it's a good French, that they speak in Congo. They can upload their translations, and so now we have content in French, and basically, back and forth between the two. In other words, if there's any files that have been changed in the YouTube captions in the universities in Congo, then we can upload them as the first draft, and then if anybody else wants to update it again. So you basically can change all the Khan Academy videos into captions. Now, eventually, you'll be able to do in machine language, go from captions to audio and drop whatever the language the video is in. So
Right.
it dropped, and now you have a video in Swahili, male or female voice. And I always joke with some students that says, someday you'll be able to watch your professor's video. And he's kind of boring, but what he's talking about is pretty interesting. You could just send his voice through a filter, so he sounds like Christopher Walken or Donald Duck, right? Or your second grade teacher. And so that's the technology is now exists for that. So eventually, what you'll see is YouTube lectures with an overdub on the fly. And so when your browser comes to, say, for instance, World Mentoring Academy in the future, automatically it'll queue up, and everything will be translated into their language, so it'll appear to a Russian that it was written. World Mentoring Academy was developed by a Russian. All the videos would be automatically queued up for Russian overdub, or Mandarin or whatever, Swahili, as it works out. So basically you have a university on the internet, and that gets mimicked, with one or two generations onto the terabyte drives. And so you go back and forth syncing the two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
somebody in a remote village has a little bit of time and they want to change it to Arabic, the captions or the page layers, then we update the virtual or the internet version.
Yep.
So there's quite a bit of growth in that whole thing. In other words, what we'll eventually have is we'll have we also have agriculture, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and prescribed grazing and no-till cultivation uses 30% less water. Really doesn't use as much oil-based, hydrocarbon-based nitrates. Growing legumes and things of that nature, and it's even up in the United States, it's being adopted by certain areas as a new way of growing food. With less hydrocarbons.
Right.
So what I want to do is basically hit on all areas so farmers can have this resource freely available. Is there any questions you want to ask?
No, I think that sounds really great, and thanks so much for taking the time to fill me in on everything. I think what makes sense for me to do now is to talk with the engineers here, get specifications about sort of the hardware and what we're looking at.
Yeah, whether you want to, what LMS system that you're comfortable with, and then we can, once they said, okay, Moodle's good, or Drupal, or Efront, or whatever. In other words, once you find that kind of a thing, then we can either migrate all custom the program so when it calls in a lesson from the SQL database, it doesn't really matter what LMS system. The LMS system is based around the database.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have a situation where you're doing something in Congo where you want to have the terabyte drive because of Wi-Fi connection, then they may end up using an Efront system. And then where you have a university in a third world country that has an internet connection, we then can go with maybe another system that's more ideal for that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And I'm not really familiar with the one laptop per child's system, but you pointed to me, that one Rachel project.
Yeah, we don't. Their content that they provide in that thing, the one laptop per child, is not very strong. We're not gonna.
It's called the what, Rachel project?
Yeah, it's Rachel dot. What is it? Rachel dot.
Hope after Rachel challenge. Project Rachel. Where is it? Project Rachel? Which one is it?
Worldpossible.org. Rachel.worldpossible.org.
Oh. Okay. World Possible. Okay.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at it. But it looks to me like it's kind of a directory kind of a thing.
Right.
It's
absolutely, it is.
It's not. It's not an LMS. This might be something that you have on your host, and it's the link that goes from the LMS, like Rachel project or library, and then it goes over to the Rachel project, and you kick out, some of the stuff is in other words, if you add up all this content, say in French, have different versions of Rachel, in French, Arabic, Mandarin, stuff like that, then just because of space requirements like this, you wouldn't even have this here per se. Maybe you might, but I don't see why the elementary school and high school kids don't just connect to your LMS. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you could do this where nobody logs in, and stuff like that. I prefer people logging in so that they can keep track of what they've done.
Yeah, I think for how we approach that, we're gonna have to talk with the teachers at the school and see how they want to use the system we're putting in place, whether they want to be making it part of their curriculum there, or if they want this to be sort of independent learning, or if they want this to be just as extra resources for people, kind of like a library that people can go to.
Yeah.
So it's going to depend on a lot on what their desires are, I think.
Okay.
But I think either way, what we talked about of the being able to make this as a contribution, continuing to contribute to the greater mission that you have of making it language agnostic or language blind.
Yeah.
And updating closed captioning is definitely possible no matter what path one goes down.
Well, here's an interesting thing that I probably needed to mention to you, that we have the first 2 years of Harvard Medical, 28 courses required for the doctors. Of the 28, we have 14 of them at medical school level. You have dental school, veterinary school, of course, animal husbandry and agriculture. We have law school, film school, music school, culinary arts, K through 12, and bachelor's and master's in every field. Computer science alone, we have 83 courses.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time looking through all your tech stuff.
Yeah, and electrical engineering, we have 80. Mining, ocean, a lot of various different types of fields that would be helpful in a third world country, like even how to design a factory or how to work on machinery. We'd like to also have trade schools as well. So you have welding and every aspect, so that it's basically one kind of a location where people can work together, as opposed in the past, Moodle has been kind of one of those kind of things where the teacher uses it, but all of their material is kind of held in a, in a block wall kind of a thing.
Right.
I'd like to open that up because there's a lot more energy than just trying to hold your class. Like, for instance, Coursera has 550 courses, but only 50 courses at a time are available, and then they close as soon as you start. And then when you finish, you don't have access to that material. So my model is kind of more like a library.
Right, absolutely. And that's definitely something that I think is very nice about it.
And I believe edX is also going along that same track. Now, what's different about me and edX is edX gives certificates of completion for $100. Okay, my course is set up so that you can take 170 courses on the average of $80 for 3 units of college credit through the College Board, the federal government, NYU, and a couple of other programs that are proctored in a room setting where they send the test to a library or, in this case, University of Congo, and a student comes into the class, the professor watches them. They took an hour-and-a-half test, and they send the results back to the College Board, or the Pearson Group, or wherever, and they earn college credit that could transfer to a European college or university. And if they get a degree from, say, Nigeria, which may not be recognized in Europe or in the United States, they can go through these tests and basically launder their degree into a degree that's either backed by American universities or European universities. And so instead of getting a certificate from MIT or wherever for $100, you get 3 units that 2,900 universities will accept for $80.
Yeah, that sounds great. I got to warn you, my laptop is running pretty low right now. So keep me in the loop. Let me know what's going on, and if I can be of any help, I'll definitely be available for that. Yeah, I'll definitely try and get back in touch with you within the week with more details. Thank you very much for all of this. This is terrific. I think it's a great direction to go in.
Yeah, there's a lot more that I could talk to you about, but as you said, you'll learn that 4 years of working on this. Have you read my story?
I did actually. Yeah, I read it last night. It was pretty. I was most amazed, I think, by the fact that you found all these videos yourself and hand curated everything.
Right, and for the past 4 years, it used to be $250 a month. Now it's $220. $180 of the $220 is food stamps, and the rest is like Starbucks coffee, some occasionally bus passes. But for 3 years, I slept outside with a sleeping bag and a bicycle 7 days a week, and now I just do it 2 days a week, and I couch surf at my sister's for 5 days. But I'm still at $220 a month, including hosting.
That's impressive.
So the Orange County Register did a front page feature story about me, and the New York Times did a couple of blurbs. And I have no public relations firm.
It's Invenio runs a it's like a sort of a blog or a website. It's called ICT Works. I'm not sure if you came across it, but I spoke with the woman here who's in charge of the content on the website, and she mentioned some interest in possibly doing an article sort of highlighting your website and maybe an interview with you in the future if you'd be interested with that.
Yeah, I actually just let me see here, Fugle.
I just hit 3% battery, so I might die at some point.
I just got listed as the top 10 MOOC in the world.
Oh wow! Congratulations, that's awesome.
But it's here it is, this one right here. Fugle for less, and so like I'm number 8. This is by no by no means say he's going to update it to. We're the only MOOC that actually gives college credit, or not gives, but supports the test.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let you get your battery charged back up. Definitely interested in propagating free education for the world. Hopefully to alleviate population problems and food and water, and be the new generation. Instead of bombs, we create opportunities for people around the world.
Exactly.
So.
Well, great talking with you. And
it was a pleasure. Thanks for Rachel. I wasn't aware of that particular thing.
Yep, of course.
Okay. Take it easy.
You too.
Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.